Hello, and welcome to Food Rebels. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs, live on-air tastings, and a show that is dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world, where we celebrate people who've challenged the status quo. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste, and other food awards judge, and a business owner. And with me today, I have the wonderful Dhruv Baker, who you will remember from previous episodes. We're delighted to have you back. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you, AJ. Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Always a treat, always something
a
I
treat.
very much look forward to being here, so thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So Dhruv, you will remember, was the winner of MasterChef 2010 and is the owner of Tapas Charcuterie. Last time you were in the studio, we were talking about smoked charcuterie and we were having a very delicious time with, was it the Smoking Brothers?
Yeah. Outstanding salmon. I can still remember exactly how that tasted. They were great.
It was so good. What are you working on? What's going on with you at the moment?
So much the same, actually. We have been working very hard sort of behind the scenes, working on a merger with another company, which we're hoping to announce in the next week or two, which will be very exciting. It gives us access to a 500-acre regenerative farm in Devon. But yeah, while just kind of business as usual, it's trying to stay focused on the day-to-day stuff without getting too distracted by the big exciting new projects. But it's been a good start to the year, and I think it's beginning to see some sort of green shoots of normality after whether it was Brexit or whether it was COVID. And I think people have just stopped looking for excuses and just get on with it. So that's what we're doing. Just get on with it.
Excellent. Yeah. I saw were you running some supper clubs or something recently? That looked really fun.
I am. Actually, I will be cooking in Tuscany with James Golding and Richard Bertonet.
James Golding from the Pig Hotels.
Yes, formerly of the Pig. And then maestro of all things bread and patisserie, Richard. So yes, the three of us will be cooking in Tuscany. But yeah, it just gives me an excuse to rattle a pan and stick on a jacket.
That's a supper club everyone wants to go to.
I hope so. It'll certainly be a lot of fun from this side of the past. We'll hopefully that translates to the other side. But
that sounds amazing.
It's always good. So just trying to keep my eye in and have that luxury of being able to do stuff I love doing without making it my day job.
Sounds absolutely amazing. Amazing guest who you already know really well in the studio today, and we've got Guy here from Tracklements. So welcome back, Guy. So good to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
I should think everyone listening to this knows Tracklements and is really familiar when you go into any farm shop or independent retailer. Rows of beautiful chutney pots and mustards, and you're the ultimate condiment kings, aren't you?
We are the kings of condiments. I think we've also been very good at staying in that space. So we've always said that we want to make condiments. And condiments for the UK or British food, I mean, we've got a great history. It's what we do. And I sometimes think about things like, British Tapas, your charcuterie. We've probably got things to go with that. But it's lovely to have a plate of something really, really simple. And when you serve that plate, the one thing that you always think, oh, hang on, a condiment of some form, and I think those things are really, really wonderful, whether or not that's something as uninteresting as a mint sauce, as exciting as something like the chili jam or the fig relish, and as something as simple as whole grain mustard. So I love the simplicity of what we do.
Where do you want to start? Because you've brought some books in that look very, very old, and you've brought some jars of very, very old condiments in, which I've been told under no uncertain terms I'm not to open or taste.
No. I think it's about making something that's authentic. But I love authentic, being relentless. And one of the things that we have is, between my father and myself, we have what we think is one of the largest private collections of books about the history of food preservation. And that's where we get a lot of our inspiration from. You think about launching whole grain mustard back in 1970. There was nothing really like that in the world. And we found a recipe in John Evelyn's diary for taking mustard seed and basically pounding it with a pestle and mortar and soaking it. And like all those great stories, the first batch was made and you tasted it and it really wasn't very nice, a bit raw. But actually you leave it a week and all of a sudden the flavours are starting to come together, which is why when we make them, and we have stone grinders at work, which I'm sorry, I'm going to get a really bad joke in. We've got these two stone grinders at work that we've had for a long time. They're called Mick and Keith because they're our Rolling Stones.
Hey.
And we take whole seed, we drop them through the stone grinders. It's really, really important. Just kiss it, just to break open the seed to release the oils, mix it immediately with its liquid, and then sit it in barrel for 5 to 7 days, stirring it every day to do what it's doing. And I remember the first batches were made at the kitchen at home, and now we've moved on from that. We make the batches that work, but there are 40 barrels of this stuff going on at any one time. Round and round we go. And what I love is that thing, the authenticity of doing something that's the same. Can I say, genuinely, it makes it better? I'm not too sure, but what I'm not prepared is to try and do something else and see what happens. And one of the things that we talk about at work is keeping the skills alive, keeping the traditional skills alive. There aren't that many people who know how to make mustard. And most of them are in and around our factory. And I was working out the other day, we've had 7 mustard makers in the entirety of our history, because it is a skillful thing. There's no computer to tell you how to set it. It's about knowledge. And that would be the same about grinding a flour to make bread. It's about knowledge. So we talk about keeping the skills alive. So we talk about our cooks in the business and our makers. They make things. And I think it's really nice that people who are involved in Tracklements, who are at work, get a satisfaction from that. And you were saying about our multiple of customers. Well, we've got 1,000 delis and butchers and farm shops across the country that sell Tracklements. And the people that work at Tracklements will, if they're on holiday or they're snap, take a picture, sit, and they're proud.
Yeah.
And I think if you're doing something and making something a part of something, I think that pride goes on to that. And we always say that if you scratch beneath the surface of the jar, it's got to be real.
Yeah. On the times that we've met and judged for things, I've always been really struck by how proud you are of your team. You've nearly always got a story that's something to do with the guys in the factory or a process or something that's going on for you, or even, family members coming into the business. There's a real genuine sense of pride for that to just always crop up in conversation. It's really lovely.
Yeah, well, I feel it very lucky to do what I do. I'm very lucky to live and work 3 miles away from the factory. I cycle to work every day. I just think I'm a lucky so-and-so.
Yeah.
Got amazing views. I love doing what I do. I think that sense of reward is the thing that makes you do every day. So I'm now 40 years in the business.
Wow.
And to feel as excited about it now as I did in the early days, I feel very blessed.
I do see there's a similarity. I see a trend with certain people in the industry, and guys, you have this infectious enthusiasm. And Paul Kelly, without changing tack too much, reminds me very much of you in that same way. And I think what you find with people who have generally disrupted things have done it from the right place. They haven't come into something and said, let's just disrupt things to be difficult. It's like, we can do this better. Generally, people who want to do things better are doing it to do something for the right reasons. And I think there is this commonality with a number of your guests that we've seen who have been around, are just as excited today as they were 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I think that's massively inspiring to producers now who are coming into it for the right reasons, to say, actually, it doesn't happen overnight, but however tough things get, the cycle past the cows kind of makes everything go away. It's like the Etch-a-Sketch, you shake all of the negativity away. And I think it's hugely inspiring for me, and it always has been. I mean, I've been lucky enough to know Guy for about nearly 15 years. But seeing that enthusiasm, that I will use the word passion because it is, but it's also this stance of doing the right thing, whatever right means. But it genuinely, you have to believe in it. And the other bit is authenticity. Without it, if you don't believe it 100%, it's not going to happen. So I think that authenticity with that enthusiasm is a kind of key factor I see.
We've all got to make really good food. That's what we've got to do.
Yeah.
But we've also got to run really good businesses. And that is the other vital part of it. Let's not forget about that. You have to have that as the add-on to what you do. So the passion and the authenticity is lovely, but you've got to make a business out of it. You will not keep it going if you don't make a business out of it. But you can do that in the right way. And we've talked about, when I was last here, we talked about B Corp. Those are the things about doing, not only making the right way, but doing everything the right way. Realizing that the business has a greater importance than me, the people that work there, that it actually hopefully goes on to create something that might be there in another 50 years' time, doing something not that much. It will be bigger, but one of the things that we really like is that we set the bar that says, this is how you expand and grow and make a business that now I think we're up to about 20,000 jars a day.
Wow.
Incredible.
But we still make it the same way. And that I had a really nice. We've had an Australian importer for many, many years, and he came to visit us, and he walked around. He said, "What's brilliant about this is it's like every other factory that I've ever been around of yours. I recognise the machines, but you're bigger. You're just a bit bigger." Those are the things that I always say from a business perspective. If you can come to work every day and make something really good with good ingredients, 95% of your decision making's done. The 5%, which I always think is the business bit, is then the add-on. We're going to make something really good. We're going to use good ingredients. We're going to make it taste right. And taste can be subjective. By and large, as we all know, good chef, put in good ingredients, you'll probably get something good out the other side. And if we can do that and repeat it and keep doing it, it's something that I get very, very excited about, yes.
The word that's springing into my head is integrity. And it's reminding me, hearing you speak, it's reminding me of a couple that Dhruv and I actually met. We were sat on a panel at one of the trade fairs, and we got to speak to Pam and James Digver from Sauce Shop. So they make kind of chili sauces and things like that. They were talking about their process of sort of going from making it hand making it, not quite at the kitchen table, but almost, and then outsourcing it to a third-party manufacturer and realising it had lost all the essence, all the heart, all the integrity, all the authenticity, all the control over the things that really mattered. And they had to pull it straight back in-house and go, no, this isn't us. It's not who we are. Okay, we might make fewer jars now, but these jars are going to be something we're incredibly proud of. And, they're award-winning and all those things. And I think these companies are doing well and succeeding, like Trackleman, for really good reason. And I think that's a really magic thing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
We're also very keen on what we call our farmers and growers, so we're nothing without them. You could say our suppliers, but we've worked with our horseradish supplier. I think the horseradish supplier was the first person I went to go and meet 40 years ago. We still buy horseradish from them. Back then it was probably 100 kilos, and now it's, I think, something like 50 tonnes a year.
Wow.
Of fresh horseradish, all UK grown. And those things, I always think that we plough a furrow at the same time. So if we can do that and work with these farmers and growers, and the other thing we're doing is we're giving them a guaranteed price. It's not something that's going to go up and down. Our onion supplier or apple growers, all from Kent, they're going to get a good price for what they do. And we always giggle about there's perhaps a slightly new trend, we might say, for wonky veg, and we go, I think that's what we've been doing for many years.
Forever.
But we just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But equally, as you can see from the jars, our jars tell a very simple story. It's probably about the ingredients and the product. We don't necessarily shout that we're trying to do good things. We just think that's part of our DNA. It is what we do.
It's expected almost, isn't
It's
it?
expected.
That you'll have used incredible materials and,
Yeah.
Even the B Corp. I mean, I don't know how many people see B Corp and completely recognise it, but I think it's growing. But I certainly, we're in the industry. You see B Corp and you're like, this is a company that's doing everything right,
Yes.
because the whole process is so comprehensive, isn't it?
And if it's not recognised, it doesn't matter. We recognise it.
Yeah.
And that
And it matters to you and your team.
yeah.
And
To me, it's like the ingredients that go in the business. Those are the ingredients for the business. We buy ingredients for the product, but B Corp is about the ingredients for the business, how we want to live our lives. And I think that makes it really interesting, exciting. And then the people who come to work at Trackleman's, that I remember somebody saying, and we talked about this word passion when we've got Simon and Caroline and Jason, who are our cooks, okay? And a journalist came around and said, do they eat this product? And I said, why don't you ask them? But there are no buzzers or bells in the factory.
Yeah.
There's a clock on the wall, and we're asking people to make something. We always say, if you were making a relish or a chutney at home, you run the spoon across the middle of the pan, and if the hollow doesn't fill, it's ready to go. They are making 60 batches a day of particular things. And I remember the same journalist, because we were using this word passion, I said, look, you can say that I am, But these crew make 60 batches a day. When they go home, they smell of onions and vinegar. They're probably not feeling super passionate. But actually, what they are doing is knowing that they're making something really, really good. And because we use this terminology of cooks, what's an unskilled worker, for goodness sake?
Yeah.
They're all highly skilled.
Very skilled,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah.
I often think that when you actually look at the categorization of unskilled workers, I often think, how wrong are you? Fruit picking is incredibly skilled. You have to be really, really well experienced to know which pieces of fruit to pick and which not to pick, how to do the whole field and come back and do different parts. It's incredibly skilled work. And I think everyone discovered that, didn't they, during the pandemic, when every person who perhaps had been furloughed or whatever, or out of work, went, oh, I'm going to go and pick fruit. Not after 2 days. They were in bits.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this is really hard. Half my punnets got rejected. I wasn't very good. And there are people who do the seasons all the way around the world, and they are incredibly skilled. Really, I think, especially in the UK, it's just the way you view different skills.
We try, one of the things that's part of our, we call them our guiding principles, but one of the things that we try to do is get closer to the growers. The figs that go in the fig relish, okay, it's probably quite a hard thing to get closer to the growers that's coming from Turkey, harder thing. But if we can get closer to them and meet them, then we understand what it is they're doing. And we did a thing where we were getting closer to the growers, and we went down to the Isle of Wight tomatoes. You probably know.
Oh, yeah, I love them.
Tomato soil, and they were picking their rows of tomatoes. And they just say, pick row, and then it gets sorted later. And then they were pulling these things out, and there were all these green tomatoes. And I go, what happens to those? And they go, goes to pig feed. And I went, I think we can make green tomato chutney. So I love the fact that we have the ability to put these things together. And green tomato chutney is one of my absolute faves. It's probably the only commercial green tomato is normally what your I don't want to know what your granny made, wasn't it? Green tomato. but we now think we've probably got the only commercial green tomato chutney because we've got this wonderful supply. So Isle of Wight tomatoes, wait until they've got 2 tons of them, send them up to us.
And had you not been there, you wouldn't have seen that.
We wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah.
So by getting closer to the growers, so we, for the first time in many, many years, tomorrow, we are going up to Norfolk to talk to some mustard seed growers.
Wow.
Now, there has previously been a bit of a ring of steel around Norfolk. I said I wouldn't mention any names, and I won't. But that's opened up a little bit. And so we're going to go and talk to them, again, get closer to the grower, see what it is they're doing, see how we can help. There aren't that many mustard makers in the UK. There's there's us. I mean, they're probably a few, but of size.
There's the famous ones.
There's the famous ones. We can now get closer to that and and I'm really, really excited, and seeing this and seeing what they do and seeing. Obviously, there may not be anything in the field, so they plant probably about now for harvesting in September. But we can see what the process is and where they store the mustard seed and learn. And by learning from these people who have the skills and the knowledge, suck it out.
Yeah.
And then see if we can use that somewhere in something that we might do. So,
I guess that's the thing. Until you've been there, you never know what's going to come of it. And the fact that the Isle of Wight trip yielded that, a new product came off the back of that. So you're probably there thinking, I wonder what I'm going to discover tomorrow. And there's that enthusiasm, that excitement, that genuine kind of passion coming through. But, waking up excited about what you're doing every day is a real joy and a treat, actually. And I think the people who genuinely do it, none of them take it for granted.
Agree.
And it's genuine gratitude for that.
We every year in the last week of November or the first week of December, we have an open day at the factory. 600 or 700 people come round. And
you're still in Wiltshire, right?
Yes, we're still in Wiltshire. And when somebody says, and they ask, they go, why do you have an open day? And I said, well, it's all about pride.
Yeah.
And we're not hiding anything. And I sometimes say, in some ways, more producers and manufacturers and factories should have open days. Let's not make it something you never see or you can't get to see behind. It's I suppose a really expensive way of getting 500 people to like your product. I lose my voice from the tours. We go round and round and round, but I absolutely love it, and people are interested and excited and enthused, and then you've got customers and what would we now call them? Influencers.
Yep.
Of a version of that for life.
Yeah, advocates.
Advocates. That's perfect.
But it's like having an open kitchen in a restaurant. It's like, why would you do it? And it's like, well, because we're proud of what we do, and yes, it's harder, but we choose to do it. So it's the same mindset. There's nothing to hide, and in fact, it's the opposite of something to hide. It's actually we're going to show off because we can. There does seem to be this move towards things doing the right way or the better way, and I think people are demanding more from their producers, as they should. You know, we as a producer have always said, ask questions. We should have the answers, and if they don't have the answers, then question that.
But I also think that good food should not be exclusive.
No, absolutely.
And it may cost more, but it shouldn't be exclusive. Everyone should be allowed to access it, and I think that's really, really important. I remember sometimes we've talked to one or two retailers, somebody at the Cheese Awards last year, who said, I absolutely love Drachelmans. I think they're absolutely brilliant, but I don't stock them in my shop. And I went, why not? And he said, optics. And I go, what do you mean by optics? And he said, well, you're in all the good shops around me. And I went, you got it.
And keep going.
And that's the answer. But I still find from my excitement still comes from another butcher, another cheese shop. Even on the motorway coming here this morning, I drove past a van and it had a butcher and a van on it. So take a picture and I will make sure that they get a contact, because I love that really direct form of selling. So everyone at work will start yawning, but I spent 7 or 8 years on the road selling Drachelmans across the whole of southern England. And one of the things that I loved is meeting. You suddenly saw all these market towns, places with really good butchers. Cheese shops were starting to appear. Farm shops were starting to appear. I loved walking through the door. Absolutely loved walking through the doors. Didn't always work. You didn't always make a sale. But I still find that same excitement now. Because, yes, we talked about good food not being exclusive. We've also got to think about the fact that we've got to help our retailers make money. So I don't want to be, I'm not being mercenary about it, but to say, look, anything we can do to help you sell more Drachelmans is another 50p in your till, because we've got to keep them going too.
Yeah.
We've really got to sort of make sure that we help them. And that's why, we proudly say, I think we're on our 13th year of winning the best supplier on the Guild Awards.
Wow.
And as they said this year, no one has ever won it except us.
Yeah.
But that's not just about making good product. It's about supplying stuff when people want it, helping the retailers sell more.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important, because it's about putting money through the till. And I like that. We touched on it earlier. I like the business side of what we do, because that's something that you don't see necessarily when you start out. I was far too ignorant to realise that there was a business. You had to work out how you do the business, because you do get very excited about it. But actually, that's something that I've enjoyed layering on to my level of knowledge. We don't get things right, but what we do is have a structure and a process to allow us to do it. And I think that's the other bit, that as brands grow, they have the knowledge of what it is that they're doing, making really good products, but just add that little layer of the business bit. That's not going out and doing an MBA. They need to do that. But do learn and maybe apply yourself. It's the bit that we don't like. I don't like numbers, don't like spreadsheets, but you sort of have to force yourself to do it, because it is important, because we can't get good food to our customers unless we do it right.
Yeah.
And add the business section on. So I don't want to be too boring about that, because it is about taste and making good product, but I love that bit as well.
As we all know, supporting local shops supports the local economy, supports the local other shops and the other pubs and the other hospitality outlets, and it actually means that your pound is being spent 6 or 7 times around your local area, keeping your shops and your facilities all open. It benefits people so strongly.
And it's about discovery. So where else do you find this range of products? This amazing range of products and things that you haven't seen before, and tastes and flavours that you can try. I think it's an endlessly exciting process. But the one thing that I still have, food-wise, sometimes I feel led by the product, so I might be getting an urge to eat piccalilli. And it suddenly comes to me, I say, I've got to eat piccalilli. So I will go out and get thick cut, proper ham, real slab, and some good bread. And I sometimes think we forget how just lovely.
What a joy it is.
How joyous. I don't want to but I think the simplicity of taking, I won't say a condiment-led menu. Can you imagine if Guy opened his condiment restaurant? I think it might be a bit boring.
I don't think it would be boring at all.
Sounds marvellous.
And I know exactly what you mean. I will suddenly develop a hankering for something ridiculously specific on a Monday or a Tuesday. And you can see the abject, it's boredom on my family's faces, because they know Saturday will be spent traipsing around looking for some obscure, ridiculous thing that I've decided I want.
Yes, and you've got to have it.
Until you do, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But I totally get it. It can be triggered by, now that you've mentioned that, I want a Scotch egg with piccalilli.
Yeah.
And I will by the end of the weekend. But it can't just be any Scotch egg, not the one that you'll get in the big supermarkets where you can hear it rattling around inside, but a proper Scotch egg with piccalilli.
With a gooey centre.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm now probably going to be slightly distracted until I have that.
I think that we've got this lovely thing that I call British Tapas.
Yeah.
Which are those things. We have a Trackleman's lunch. The Trackleman's lunch never really changes. Cheese, ham, pork pie, Scotch egg. If I can find, because it always makes me giggle, but our butcher would do really good faggots. And if there's something that's delicious with faggot, onion marmalade and faggot. Faggot's just a really nice pate.
Yeah, but that sweetness is just offsets it, slight tang.
And those things I really, really like. And I also love the idea of getting our visitors and customers, when they come down, just putting this spread in front of them and everybody's eyes light up, because we so rarely eat in that way. But it is our history and tradition.
Yeah.
Is there a nostalgia rolled up into that, do you think? Is it that the memories of whether it was a real memory of picnics and things, or is it from having watched things like The Famous Five or read them where, lovely jars appeared? But there is, no one can help but grin from ear to ear when you see something like that, because it's honest and it's delicious.
But you see these things in the deli counter, and we were chatting about Fortnum's, downstairs at Fortnum's. How can you not indulge? And I think they do. You can get a little cold bag, can't you?
Yeah.
And you can put a Scotch egg in it and a little jar of piccalilli and consume at your
You
leisure.
cross the road and sit in Green Park with a half bottle of champagne you bought. I've done it. I mean, I'm laughing because I've done it, I'm ashamed to say, more than once.
And
Brilliant.
I think it's just, I think it's so pleasurable, and that's little something you can stick in your pocket, easy to carry.
I love this. I might have to move you two into the pub so you can carry on this conversation. But we've run over, and it's been absolutely brilliant, and I didn't want to stop it because it's just so fascinating hearing all the stories coming out. But sadly, we have come to the end of the show now. Thank you so much, Guy Tolberg from Trackleman. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio, and thank you, Dhruv Baker.
Pleasure. Guy, lovely to see you as always.
The love in here is huge. It's amazing right now. Thank you very much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to follow us and subscribe and rate us and all that stuff. It really does good things for us. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Taste the Rebellion.